Some big news to go over today, folks. The Toronto Blue Jays signing is incoming, and following DFAing Eric Lauer and brutal loss yesterday, a new report from an insider has dropped, revealing some critical information surrounding an upcoming Jays move, specifically revolving a starting pitcher and one name in particular. We're going to break down this new report and discuss what it means going forward. But not only that, we have multiple huge injury updates, including Shane Bieber, Alejandro Kirk, some bad updates on Addison Barger, and the Jays, of course, making more moves in what has been a flurry of moves over the past couple of weeks. Tons to go over on this episode, folks. Before we get into it, quick thank you for all your guys' support. You've been absolute beasts. And of course, we had a stream yesterday, so stay tuned. There's going to be daily streams, potentially not daily, weekly, potentially even a stream today. So stay tuned for that. Always appreciate your guys' support. Let's dive right into it. So, of course, it started off yesterday, and I'm going to briefly cover this because, everyone kind of knows it by now, but the Jays made multiple moves, right? Like Yohendrick Pinango is back. He, did okay yesterday, had a walk. Yariel Rodriguez, he was really good yesterday. But Eric Lauer was DFA'd. And the big question after that DFAing was, hey, who is going to be their fifth starter? And we got some insight. You can see here, John Schneider mentioned Spencer Miles, CJ Van Eyck, and Chad Dallas for the Blue Jays' fifth roster spot. But clearly, and this is where it gets interesting, the Jays are exploring outside starting pitchers too. There are ways to explore around the league too. I know that Ross and everyone are kind of crossing every bridge they can to figure that out. So DFAing Eric Lauer was needed, right? I mean, a fresh start for him elsewhere. The Jays, the vibes were weird. He made some weird comments. And most importantly, he was a bad pitcher this year. But what that does now, it leaves an open spot. And with the injuries, we're going to break them all down in this video. But most importantly, you look ahead to where their next rotation is. So, Lauer's next spot in the rotation is scheduled to come up next series, right? I believe against the Tigers. And this is going to be critical to get another starting pitcher. They did it with Patrick Corbin earlier, and now they're going to do it again. Now, you do have Spencer Miles, so you could just slide in. That's probably the easiest option. CJ Van Eyck and Chad Dallas, prospects for the Jays out in AAA, have both been dominant, but this tidbit from Mitch Bannon was crucial. Wouldn't expect a massive move from the Blue Jays. If they do decide to go outside the org, big-time starting pitchers just aren't often moved in early May. But one name to consider is Chris Paddack, recently released by the Marlins. ERA this year isn't good, but he's stretched out and he throws strikes. Now, I'm going to show you guys his stats. I didn't say this was an exciting move, but neither was, Patrick Corbin. Now, Corbin a little bit better last year than, than ultimately this guy. But Chris Paddack, a name that's been around for a little bit, this season pitched 6 games with the Marlins, a 7.63 ERA, right? Like, wasn't really great. But the reason that this is a very likely option is because he's stretched out. And clearly the Jays, obviously they value it, but they need it. This team needs depth. Now, would they be better off bringing up someone from the minors? Probably. It depends kind of how they're feeling about their growth, when they think Shane Bieber is going to come back, which we'll dive into later in this video. But Chris Paddack, the savant isn't pretty. This year's been bad, but he is stretched out. And this is somebody who pitched for, a variety of teams. Obviously the Padres early in his career had a great rookie year. Hasn't really been good over the past couple seasons. Last year finished with a 5.35 ERA in 158 innings. But the point is, he's not going to be a good pitcher, but he pitched his innings, I guess, right? In 158 innings last year, I think he gave up the most earned runs in baseball, which is absurd, but he's stretched out. So if the Jays just need a spot start for 1 or 2 goes around the rotation, or goes around the rotation in the meantime, while Shane Bieber gets healthy, it could make some sense, right? And you go around the rotation a couple more times, Bieber gets healthy, you could then DFA Chris Paddack. Is he 0.7 negative WAR this year, which is really, really bad. But again, if they don't want to use up, not one of their options, but kind of one of their options on Chad Dallas or CJ Van Eyck, which is not really how it works, but for the sake of simplicity here, if they want to just let them continue to develop, you could bring in Chris Paddack, right? He's someone who's been around. There's a reason Mitch Bannon linked the Jays to him, similar to a degree to Patrick Corbin. Then this is somebody who has a ton of experience in the MLB, has been around for 6-7 years now. Ultimately has pitched over 600 innings, and he has experience, right? Like, you'd hope he could give them a couple starts, 5 innings, 3 or 4 runs, just to band-aid, give you a pretty good band-aid while you wait for everybody else. But at the end of the day here, not the most exciting move. They could go bigger, maybe like a Robbie Ray type situation, which we'll have videos on in the future. But for now, you stick with what you have. You bring in either somebody internally. I think at that point, though, if we're being honest, I'd probably rather see Spencer Miles try to start. He throws 98, maybe CJ Van Eyck, Chad Dallas. But again, the biggest thing lending towards potentially Chris Paddack being brought in, he's stretched out and can throw 5-6 innings if he gets there. And that is the hardest part. So comment down below what your thoughts are on that. But let's dive into an abundance of injuries. So injury updates. So it starts with Addison Barger. It is right elbow joint inflammation. He got a cortisone shot today, and he's now shut down for 3 to 4 days. And yeah, he's going to be out for a bit. There's no structural damage. He should be back soon, which is ultimately good news, right? Now he's placed on the 10-day IL retroactive to 2 days ago on May 10th, which means he can come back at the earliest, May 20th. Now, something that's even more important is Shane Bieber. He is throwing today a 1-up live bullpen at the Player Development Complex today. This is the guy they need back very, very soon. You need him back because this team is like, I mean, you look at their starting pitchers on the right, like Cease, Gosman, Savage, and Corbin. Those are the 4 guys. Like, you're missing so much of the percentage on the right that was suspected to play. I mean, Berríos going to be out for a while, we presume. Max Scherzer going to be out for a while, we presume. Eric Lauer is gone. I mean, Lazaro Estrada is dealing with an injury, I believe, as well. I don't know if he's still in the Major League IL. It's a funny twist. But, yeah, give me Shane Bieber. Get him back soon. But also, Nathan Lucas, he hopes to run the bases by the end of the week and could play single-A rehab games this weekend. That's going to be crucial because no matter how good your pitching is, your offense has been putrid. But we do have a pretty unfortunate update, and that's Yimi Garcia. So his next rehab appearance is being pushed back after reporting soreness after Thursday's outing, last week. Folks, it just keeps getting worse for the Jays in some capacities, right? Like Yimi Garcia, he hasn't pitched, it feels like, in 2 years. So he's going to be out for a bit. We don't know exactly what the setback was, and we probably won't. But at the end of the day, you have to just push through it, right? Like, this bullpen's been pretty good. I mean, Joe Mantiply has been amazing. Yariel looked fantastic yesterday. But getting a guy who could pitch in the 7th or 8th inning would be absolutely fantastic. Some more good news, Alejandro Kirk is hitting off a tee. He's progressing well. No setbacks there. That's the guy they realistically, need the most, because even though Brandon Valenzuela has been fantastic, you got to get your A-plus catcher back. Max Scherzer as well. He was scheduled and is scheduled to receive a cortisone shot in his right thumb, which is, again, the thumb again. And Schneider described this as nothing new, but attempting to kill 2 birds with 1 stone while he's on the IL with forearm tendonitis. So more cortisone shots. And I don't know. He's 42, 43 years old. He's probably not going to pitch again this season, but we're going to hold out hope here. Berríos is going to Dr. Keith Meister for potentially Tommy John surgery. I don't know. It's looking bad for the injuries, but there's good news and there's bad news. Like, we're in, May, 2 months into the season. We're talking about picking up the second free agent starting pitcher because of how bad this team's luck has been injury-wise. It's unfortunate. But what isn't unfortunate is a couple guys I want to talk about in this video, and that is yesterday's bullpen. So you obviously had Mason Forty go a little bit. Yariel Rodriguez and Joe Mantiply looked really, really good. And I'm going to take the silver lining in this game yesterday because, yes, the offense was pretty, bad outside of Andres Jimenez, who had 2 home runs, by the way. Absolutely insane. His OPS has risen to a 697 now. But for Andres Jimenez, right, very good. Good to see the bat speed. Maybe his injury last year was kind of hindering a little bit. Vladdy's struggling heavily. I mean, Springer's struggling heavily. Look at the OPSs on the right. Like, you have some guys that are playing well, but it's getting bad. And then you have your bullpen. Gosman's looked pretty rough the past few starts. 6 earned runs yesterday over, 4 2/3. The good news is Yariel looks really good. Joe Mantiply looks really good. Like, sure. But you have to figure out the offense. I sound like a broken record here, and Zach Marshall puts it well. The Blue Jays' best 2 hitters from last year have been arguably their worst hitters, the worst hitters in the team for a better part of a month. Unless something changes, I don't see this team figuring it out. They're about to be 5 back of 500, and their schedule going forward is only going to get harder. I'm not as negative as him. I do think they can figure it out, but they need to do so sooner rather than later, folks. Let me know down below your thoughts there. Cheers.
The Blue Jays have a rotation crisis on their hands, and right now, one recently released pitcher nobody is excited about might be their most realistic answer. Eric Lauer is gone, DFA'd after a rough stretch that left the clubhouse with strange energy. And with Shane Bieber still working his way back, Toronto is staring at a gaping hole in their starting 5 that needs filling before the next series against Detroit. Insider Mitch Bannon has been clear, do not expect a blockbuster acquisition. Big-name starting pitchers simply do not move this early in the season. What the Jays are likely looking at is a bridge, something functional, something cheap, something to eat innings while the cavalry recovers. And the name Bannon floated? Chris Paddack, recently cut loose by the Miami Marlins. Now, nobody is pretending this is exciting. Paddack carries a 7.63 ERA across 6 starts with Miami this season, and his baseball savant profile is not pretty. Last year, he surrendered the most earned runs in baseball across 158 innings with a 5.35 ERA. By any conventional measure, this is a bad pitcher. But here is the thing, and this is exactly what the Jays need right now. The man is stretched out. He can take a ball every 5 days and give you 5 or 6 innings. After weeks of bullpen games and roster gymnastics, that matters more than you might think. The internal options exist. Miles Spencer, CJ Van Eyck, and Chad Dallas are all names John Schneider mentioned when asked about the 5th starter spot. Van Eyck and Dallas have both been dominant in AAA this season. But here is the tension the organization is quietly wrestling with. Do you burn their development clock on a rotation in triage mode? Or do you bring in a veteran body to absorb the damage while the prospects stay on schedule? That calculation is exactly why Paddack's name surfaced. Same logic applied to Patrick Corbin not long ago, and Corbin delivered just enough. At BlueJays Report, we have been tracking the injury cascade all week, and it is brutal. Adolis Garcia is on the 10-day IL with right elbow inflammation following a cortisone shot, eligible to return May 20th at the earliest. José Berríos is headed to see Dr. Keith Meister, and that conversation is increasingly pointing toward Tommy John surgery. Max Scherzer is receiving another cortisone injection for his right thumb while already sidelined with forearm tendonitis. He is 42 years old. The numbers are not encouraging. Jesus Luzardo is dealing with his own setback. And Jimmy Garcia's next rehab appearance has been pushed back after reporting soreness, which is the last update this bullpen needed. The silver lining? Shane Bieber threw a live bullpen today at the Player Development Complex. That is genuine progress. Alejandro Kirk is hitting off a tee with no reported setbacks. Nathan Lukes is targeting base running activity by weeks and with potential single-A rehab games this weekend. And the offense? Andrés Giménez hit 2 home runs yesterday and has lifted his OPS to .697, genuinely encouraging. But Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and George Springer, the 2 best hitters on this roster last season, have been among the worst performers for the better part of a month. Until those bats wake up, pitching depth alone will not save this team. Toronto is building a rotation out of spare parts while waiting for healthier days. So here is the question. Would you rather see Chris Paddack bought in to protect the prospects? Or is it time to hand CJ Van Eyck his first big league start?